everyone, or afternoon, whatever it is. We are back for step 3 of our beginning quilting. So far we have learned how to pick our fabric. We've learned how to wash or not wash, how to prep our fabric, all in preferences that you have. Today we're going to learn about cutting. You're going to love these cutting instructions. They're going to save you so much time. So much time. Remember, we're using Misfits. This is the one I'm cutting for. So what you're learning today is not to make the same quilt necessarily, but how to cut your fabric appropriately and how to organize it appropriately so that if you do what I do and walk away for a couple of months, you can pick up right where you left off. All right? So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is lay out our fabrics and identify them. So I know this is my accent 1. I know this is my accent 2. I know these are my focus fabrics. And this is my background. So before I even start to cut, I want to get out some bags. I need at least 4. I need 1 for each fabric, right? I need 1 for background, 1 for focus. And I need to get out a Sharpie. And I need to identify these bags so that as I cut, I put them in the bag. So we have accent number 1, and we have accent 2, we have focus, and we have background. Now, if you have multiple cuts within each of these bags, then you label and pin. You get another bag that has what its measurements are, and stick it inside that bag. And you know, I am as green and hippie as they come, y'all. And I hate using plastic if I don't have to. Here's the trick. You take a little rubbing alcohol, this wipes right off, and you can use this bag over. So please, if you're like me, don't panic. You can reduce, reuse, and recycle. Just reuse your bags appropriately, okay? I just have to put that out there because I get all freaky about wastefulness. All right, so let's cut. The first thing most people want to cut is their background. I'm going to tell you, don't do that. Your background is the largest piece you're going to cut and becomes overwhelming if it's what you start with. So I highly recommend you start with the one piece that has the fewest amount of pieces so that now nobody screws up, right? None of us ever screw up. But in the event that something doesn't go quite right, you have the least amount of fabric to correct. And because we seem to settle in as we get going. So we're going to go ahead and cut what we have the least of, which is going to be our accent number 2. Okay, so I'm going to start there. It really doesn't matter where you start. A lot of people think, oh, I got to start at the beginning and work my way down. No, you really don't. Because what you can do is when you get to your cutting instructions, all you have to do is put a little check mark beside it. Okay, so here we go. Everything has been pressed and hung. Everything's beautiful. So for my accent 2, I need 25 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. Now, a lot of people think they need to have this 2.5 by 2.5 inch square. That's not true. All we need to do is cut 2.5 inch strips and then subcut them into 2.5 inch squares, right? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do it today. We're going to do one with an actual ruler, which is what most of you have. And then we're going to do it with our strip cut ruler, which is how I prefer to cut. I am not being paid by Checker and Creative Grid, but they are what I choose to use. They're what I prefer to use. And I could go into a million reasons why. You use the rulers that you can identify best, but I choose to use Creative Grid. All right? So the first thing you need to know when you're cutting fabric is that we're going to measure from the ruler, not the mat. My mat has no lines. It has no numbers. It has nothing. It is a plain black flat mat. All right. I'm going to measure everything with my ruler. So the first thing I need to do is create a straight edge. And to do that, we have to identify a straight edge on the fabric. Most of that time, that is going to be the selvage. We're going to work off this selvage right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these broken lines right here, and I'm going to line it up along the selvage. Do you see how that lines up real nice with that white and where the separation is between the white and the red? I'm going to come as close to my edge as I can. I am going to position my body the way it needs to be positioned. Are you ready for this? It's going to shock you. Most people line up their belly button with the edge of the ruler. Problem with that, ladies, gentlemen, who's ever watching this, is you have to cross over your body to cut. This is where the sliding of the ruler happens, okay? I got nothing to get in the way. They're still in the way. So take a step to the left, line up your arm with the edge of the ruler, and you could barely have to touch the ruler. The other thing you need to remember about your ruler is it is a guide. It is not a support. Don't push into that ruler. When you push into that ruler, you're not helping yourself. You need to just follow the edge of it. So here we go. How do we line up? One of two ways. You either start with the belly button, take a step to the left. One step's all you need. Or you simply line it up. Just like everything. Tennis, bowling, it doesn't matter. They're all the same. You line up your product with the goal, not your body, okay? We're going to place our hand. I am not a fan of the ooch and scooch up the ruler, ladies. If you don't push with your rotary cutter against your ruler, you don't need to do the little walk thing. So here we go. We're going to take our hand. We're going to lay it right in the middle, making sure our little thumb pinky, our thumb peg isn't hanging over the edge. We're going to make sure our body is lined up with our arm on the edge of the ruler. We're going to squeeze our ruler, and we're just going to roll right up to the top. Nothing moved. I didn't push hard. If you're struggling, change your blade. Change your blade. Oh my gosh, what a difference a new blade can make. All right? I know, you're all like, what did she just say? Boy, that was a lot of information. Well, here, this one's going to blow your mind too. At this point, this is when everybody picks up their fabric, turns it around, you know, because it's on the wrong side. Or they think they have to run around the table. All mats rotate. Look at this. Ah, it's crazy. All mats rotate. Just rotate your mat. It's lovely. You don't have to pay a fortune for a rotating mat. Just rotate it. It's cool. So now we need 25 2.5 by 2.5 inch squares. You'll notice right here is the 2.5. It's identified right here. We're going to line up that 2.5 inch line with the edge of our fabric, just like this. Okay? Then we're going to position our body where it needs to be, and we're going to cut. Then I am not going to move that. I've got more lines on our ruler, so 2.5 and 2.5 is 5. So now I'm going to take my 5 and line it up. Please remember, everyone, that I'm also lining it up on the bottom of the selvage, like I showed you when we trimmed for a straight edge, and along the left side, because I'm using my ruler for my measurements. This gives me a nice clear 90-degree angle, and I know that all of my fabrics are straight of grain. So here we go. I happen to have a ruler that's big enough that I can do it again. So now we're going to do it at 7.5. And we're going to line it up on that same line down there. Always using a broken line. And why the broken line? Because the broken line we can see in between. If we use that solid line, I know it doesn't seem like much, but there's a 1/16 of an inch of discrepancy, and we could be completely out of whack. So if we go ahead and use that broken line, we get a much clearer 90-degree angle. Okay? There we go. Awesome. Now, to maintain integrity of everything, we only move the pieces we have cut. We don't move the pieces that we haven't cut. Fair enough? So now we have to cut these into 2.5-inch pieces. Remember, I only need 25. And I'm just going to line these all up. You can either lay them on top of each other. You can stack them. Whatever way works for you. I'm rotating my mat back around because I want to trim off this edge. You can do them one at a time too if it makes you feel better. Whatever works. I'm going to cut off that edge. I'm going to count to make sure I have 3 edges. That means I did straighten all of the pieces I have stacked. We're going to rotate it around again. Trust me, I know that looks annoying, but it's way easier than running around the table all day long. So here we go. Every 2.5 gets us 3. Okay. So we have 1, we have 3, 6. Doing the same thing, just lining up our broken line. There's 9 right there. Boom, boom, boom. How cool is that? Let's do it again because we need 25. So 3, 6, 9. That now gives us 18. So we need 6 more, right? How great is that? All right. And done. Look how fast that was. Our first color is done. And that is accent 2. So we take our accent 2 bag. Now that we know the size that it is, we're going to write 2 1/2 by 2 1/2. Because that's all that's in this bag. We're just going to stack them up and get ready to put them in the bag. Now, not only have you cut, but you've stayed organized as you go, and it takes less time than going back through and remeasuring everything to label it after. Do it as you go, okay? All right, so that's cutting method number 1. Cutting method number 2. This time we're going to use accent number 1. Now, you're going to say, how did you fold it like that? Why do you fold it like that? I covered that in our fabric prep, the wash or not to wash, where we learned how to iron versus press, how we learn to store our fabrics. It's all in that video. So I recommend you go back and check that out so that you understand why it's already folded like this. Now that it's already folded like this, and what we need from accent 1 is 42 2.5 by 2.5. I mean 4.5 by 4.5. I'm sorry. We need 20. Oh, sorry, people. 42 4.5 by 4.5. So what I need to do now is I want to get, again, a creative grid tool. I'm sorry, it's just my favorite. This is a Stripology ruler. This happens to be the extra large. They now have an extra large with a square up on it. I recommend it highly. You can always order these on our website. We're happy to ship them to you anywhere you need them. You'll notice I do a lot of scribbling on mine. All of this comes off with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I could just sit here and rub it off if I wanted to, but just a little bit of rubbing alcohol will take that away. I need a 4.5 by 4.5. You'll notice I already have it circled. 4.5, 9, 13.5, 18, right? So I'm going to cut where my circles are. And I'm going to line it up with this. We're going to line this black line with, pick your spot. I'm going to use this folded line at the bottom. And I'm going to line it up with the solid black line at the bottom. And we're going to line it up with the fold. You say, why the solid black line at the bottom? Because if you don't, you'll run out of room. So we're going to make sure that your 0 is on all of your fabric. We're going to cut on the 0 first. That's how we're going to straighten that edge. So it keeps us from having to rotate that mat around, okay? So here we go. All you have to do, look at that, the mat moves. That's so fun. We're going to take and line up our body just like we would if we were cutting otherwise, so we don't move anything. We're going to cut on 0. And then we're going to cut on 4.5. And then we're going to hit 9 and 13.5. And then 18. Ta-da! Look at that. We cut them all lickety-split. Gotta get our fabric over here. So if I do the math, I should be able to get 8 out of a piece, and I need 42. So I need 6 pieces. No, I need 7 pieces. So 2, 4, 5, 6. You see how I'm keeping my arm? I'm never overextending myself. Here we go. And there it is. Oh, they're all cut already. Is that not the coolest thing ever? Then we're going to turn them. Put them like this. So now we have 3 of them stacked, right? And we have 7 to do. I'm going to show you a little trick here in a second. I know you might feel uncomfortable with this. Trust me, it's so easy. It makes life so simple, and it's perfect every time. You're now going to take your ruler. Did you notice it doesn't fit in there? Because it's wider than 12? I'm not worried. I'm just going to stack it on top. And do you know why I can do this? Because I haven't identified an edge yet. All I have to do is I just have strips. And we know we can cut through 4 layers because we just did it when we got our strips, right? So this is okay. This is not a problem. Just like that. Now what we're going to do, lay our ruler on top and line it up with one of our edges. Cutting off our selvage is now the time to do that. So look at that. It lines up just beautifully. And what we're going to do is cut it again on the 0 and on the 4.5, 9, 13.5, and 18. Now here's the thing. So I have 4 in a stack. 4, 8, 12, 16. That means with this I have 32, right? All right, 32. Oh, I cut way more than I needed. That's okay. If you're short on fabric, remember, always cut from your selvage end first, because look, we can open these up. We could use these if we wanted to. We could go ahead, open them up, and use these for additional squares. All you got to worry about is if the tops and bottoms line up, because once they're lined up, we're going to cut it on the 0 and the 4.5. 0, 4.5. Look at that. And now we have 4 more. So that's 36. We only needed 42. So we're just going to take one of these. Open it up. How many more do we need? We had 36. We need 42. We need 6 more, right? So that means 2, 4, 6. Look at that. All of you who worry about my ruler moved, they're not square, they're all of these problems. This will take away most of that. And there they are. So let's go ahead and get out accent 1 and write on our bag 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. Ladies, gentlemen, that is how I choose to cut fabric. I hope you find some very useful things from that you can use in your cutting experiences. When we get together again, I promise it won't be as long as this video was from the previous one. When we get together again, we're going to learn how to sew. I know, you're saying I already know how to sew. Well, that's great. But for those of you who don't, this is a beginning quilting course or a refresher or a just, hey, what hadn't I thought of? I'm still learning things every day. I wish you all the best. Happy sewing. If you need us, you can get us at thecottoncupboard.com. You can call us 512-294-2776 or hit us up on Instagram and Facebook. We would love to hear from you. And remember, everything behind me, everything you've seen in our store, it's all on our website. Feel free to shop with us anytime you want. And if you want personalized pictures, we'll be happy to send them to you. Have a great day. I hope you cut lots today. Bye.